Welcome this morning to Unity Church in Edgewood. We'd like for you to know that this day is an opportunity to recognize you here by divine appointment. That whatever brings you here, whatever spiritual path you are on, wherever you are in your life, this is an opportunity to more fully awaken to the truth of who you are. And we thank you for doing that in the presence of our community today. We like to begin our service with our founding belief and statement that there is one presence and one power in our life. And so we have that in your bulletin and also on the screen. I invite you to share that with me together now. There is one presence and one power active in my life and in the universe, God the good, omnipotent. Today we explore our fourth principle in unity, prayer. We talked about God is, I am, think it, and now today, pray it. And so sometimes when we think about prayer, it may bring up the National Pirate Day. Arg! I grew up, some of you have heard me tell that I grew up in the Pentecostal church, and I loved it. It really worked for me in a lot of ways. And I can remember as I was probably maybe 10 or 11 years old, in that tradition, you would have an opportunity in the service to go to the altar and literally kneel down and pray, and people were really lively and they would come up behind you and pray with you. So as a young girl, I was on my knees praying, and in my own young, innocent way, I really did want to connect with the God of my being, and I always experienced that God as love. Well, I can remember one person on my right saying, "Hold on, honey, just hold on." And the person on my left was saying, "Let go, just let go." And I remember stopping and thinking, if I could ever figure out how to hold on and let go, I'd probably have it. And I think that kind of sums up life. You know, life is walking in that space between hold on and let go. So what is prayer? In Unity, we believe that prayer is most easily described and understood perhaps as a conscious conditioner. It's about conditioning us. From Unity's Life and Prayer class, we say prayer is the foundation of the Unity movement. Unity believes that prayer is the way to God realization and thereby individual transformation. It is through the activity of prayer that we come to know God, we realize our true nature and potential, and we experience our connection to the whole. Prayer. How many of you have read the book or seen the movie Eat, Pray, Love? It's a fabulous book, a fabulous movie. So if you know a little bit about it, the woman who is telling her story, very early on in her story, she's really having sort of what you may consider a midlife crisis. Everything is falling apart and she's depressed. And so these are her words. She said, "I finally noticed that I seem to have reached a state of hopelessness and life-threatening despair. And it occurred to me that sometimes people in this state will approach God for help. I think I'd read a book somewhere that said that. So what I said to God through my gasping sobs was something like this: 'Hello, God, how are you? I'm Liz, it's nice to meet you.' That's right, I was speaking to the creator of the universe as though we'd just been introduced at a cocktail party. But we work with what we know in this life, and these are the words that I always use at the beginning of a relationship. In fact, it was all I could do to stop myself from saying, 'I've always been a big fan of your work.'" She goes on to say, "I was desperate and I needed help." And that is so often the case. That is what leads a lot of people to open up and really get serious about our dialogue with the source of our being is a time of need. Well, today we're going to explore what I call four pillars of prayer, unless a fifth one comes down that we don't yet know about. But 4 pillars of prayer. There are many methods and many models of praying. And you know, the most important thing to remember about prayer is found in the gospel according to Nike. and it says, just do it. That's the most important thing, is don't get tripped up on how do I pray and what if it's the wrong way. Just do it. There's no wrong way, really. Today, as we look at our 4 pillars, we begin with ask. When we're talking about prayer, it is so important to ask. Matthew 7:7 says, ask and ye shall receive. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and the door shall be opened. Ask, seek, knock. A-S-K. Ask. And yet, why do we ask? Well, sometimes I think our asking can perhaps be like this young child. It was a young family, husband and wife, had a little boy who was 4 years old and just had their second child, brand new baby. So mom comes home from the hospital with a brand new baby sister. And as is the tradition in this family, every night the mother gets down with the young son and they say prayers at night. So this night she tells her son, so let's thank God for your new baby sister. So in this 4-year-old little way, he's saying his prayers, and he said, and dear God, Mom said that I should thank you for my baby sister, but that's not what I prayed for. I asked for a puppy. Please check your records. I love that because it illustrates that our asking sometimes is sort of like to a cosmic Santa Claus or a cosmic vending machine. If we could ever be right or get the combination right, or sometimes in New Thought, we almost reduce it to enough positive thinking if we could think our way completely right. But it's perhaps some of all of that and then some. So why do we ask? Why do we ask and seek and knock? Well, that is absolutely essential, not because it conditions anything or any God outside of us, but it conditions our receptivity. It prepares us to receive. When we ask, it calls us to get clear, what am I asking? What do I want? What do I believe? And in my asking, I am now becoming clear in my intention, and I'm also gathering my awareness and my energy to start paying attention so that not only am I asking, but I am prepared to receive and to find and to have doors opened. Would you affirm this with me? I am willing to ask together. I am willing to ask. The second pillar is attune. To attune. Now this gives us insight into what Jesus understood about prayer. If you've read or studied the life of Jesus, you see that it is a life of prayer. We read that Jesus went to the garden to pray, went up the mountain to pray, withdrew constantly from the crowd to pray, prayed all night, and encouraged all those around him to pray. And yet when Jesus talked about prayer, he used the word slotha, S-L-O-T-H-A. Jesus' native tongue was Aramaic. Aramaic is a sister language to Hebrew. And the word slotha literally means to trap or to set a trap for God. Dr. Rocco Errico, who is perhaps one of the foremost leading authorities on Aramaic and Hebrew interpretations of the Bible, as well as ancient Semitic culture, writes in his book, Setting a Trap for God, he said, prayer implies setting your mind like a trap so that you may catch the thoughts of God. It is to capture the inner guidance and impulses that come from your own inner spiritual God source. Slotha also implies to focus, to adjust, or to tune in. He said Jesus tapped into the wellspring of God's kingdom, which was the infinite nature, and realized that he was a channel through which the power and presence of God was expressed.